Hola, welcome to the Money Chisme podcast. I am your host, Violeta, a first generation Mexican immigrant. I am a real estate investor and business owner, pero let me tell you, just like other first gens, I was not taught much about personal finance. And I mean, needless to say, I was bien perdida, I was so lost, and I struggled a lot in my personal finance journey. And that's why I created the Money Chisme podcast, where each week I bring you the chisme on how to manage and grow your money and other money talks to help you to kick ass with your finances. All right, so let's get into this week's Money Chisme. Hola, and welcome to another episode of the Money Chisme podcast. And today I am joined by Steph Wharton, a leadership and visibility coach. And she is here today to kind of talk about balancing that big drive for success while like trying to balance that with, is this the lifestyle that you actually want? And so it's something that, we need to start asking ourselves. And I know a lot of us are kind of like, especially like me, we're going into that mindset as well. So I'm glad to have this conversation. So, hola, Steph. Thank you so much for joining me today. And, before we get into the conversation, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and, what you do.
Sounds good. First of all, muchísimas gracias for hosting me on your podcast. This is like super exciting. And I really think this is going to be an amazing conversation. Like, we're clearly very aligned with a lot of our stories and just like our mindset going forward, like you said. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Steph. I was born and raised in Argentina, live in Canada now for like 20 years. And basically, I started my entrepreneurship journey around 2017, 2018. And through that, I've done so many pivots, like from like brand design to coaching for designers to visibility coaching. And now I found, I think, what I like to call my like true, I don't know if it's final, but let's just for now say my true final niche, which is leadership and visibility coaching. And really for me, it really stemmed from my passion to be able to help people just build confidence in who they are, their own leadership, their brand essence, also that they can amplify your own impact. It's all about being able to like make a difference and do things that you're just really deeply passionate about. And I think that visibility is just a beautiful way to be able to do that, because the way that I run visibility is very sustainable. It's all about collaboration, speaking engagements, and just having a lot of fun while you serve a bigger audience and a bigger community. So that's essentially what I do, what I love. And because of the sustainability part, it just allows me to pull back a little bit from the hustle, from the business, and just have a little bit more fun with my life instead. So like prioritize making memories, spending more times with my wife, having a baby. I'm currently pregnant. And I feel like that would be really freaking hard if I was just like hustling all the time for like trying to make more money and trying to hit the next milestone. It's a little bit not quite the vibe that I'm going for.
Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations on the little one. And but yeah, I agree. Like that is kind of like my mindset that I'm switching to because I was like in that drive, like constantly like, trying to succeed and trying to like kind of like prove yourself as well. I think, in the Latinx community, we get that pushed onto us from the beginning anyways to like, you got to work hard and get a good job and success. And then, a little bit of like, some of us like, want to prove ourselves as well. And I know I fell in that trap. And then it's like, um, you start doing all these things like going to school and trying to, drive for that career, get that promotion and all that stuff. And like, I think, I started hitting some type of kind of, you know, revelation, I guess, around maybe a few years ago where I was like, like, is this really what I want to do? Like, I don't know if I want to do that. And then I fell onto kind of doing the blog and then the podcast and all that stuff. And now, trying to grow this business. And so now I think I'm at that pivot point as well, where I'm like, I'm ready to just like start taking charge of my own life, basically, especially, like being military, um, that control is gone a lot of times. So it's like I get told to do whatever. And, I was climbing that ladder and now I'm like, you know what? I want to reclaim my life. I want to do what I want. And so, planning to do that in the next year or so, and pivot from that. So, I'm curious to see what your journey was like, how did you go through that? Like, did you go through like that high drive, and like what made you like realize, like I want to just, do my own thing, take control of my own life?
Simply, like the very short answer is burnout.
Yeah.
100% getting really burnt out, working really long hours, taking more on than I ever thought I could. That's kind of what triggered everything. But for a little bit more context, I really resonate and relate with what you were sharing, because having the whole, like for me to immigrate from Argentina to Canada, like I saw my parents work so freaking hard to rebuild their careers, to rebuild their retirement fund, to do all these things so they could provide for us like a better lifestyle, a better life for themselves as well. They're hoping to retire, right? Like they're still working on that plan. And that obviously, whether it's family, upbringing, culture, just society in general, that drills into you what you were talking about going to school, getting the career, getting the like white picket fence, like all the things that you got to check off the list. It really like hammered in this feeling where like I got to be the good girl. I got to like behave. I got to like play by the rules, do all the right things. And in theory, there's a certain beauty to that. It's like, okay, let's work hard, let's strive, all that stuff.
Mhm.
But it really led me to that instance where you just kind of look around and you're like, this is not the life for me. Like I've been working so hard to prove myself, but it's like, what for? Because this isn't my version of success. This isn't what's making me happy. And when I reached burnout in corporate, I was in insurance for about 7 years, 6.5, just under 7.
Mhm.
And I was doing the job of like two different people. Somebody was on mat leave at the time, so I took on a couple of their accounts slash their role, and I was getting so burnt out, experiencing panic attacks, like depression, anxiety, all the things. It was kind of like triggering a lot of things that were probably already within me. I just hadn't experienced until then.
Mhm.
And that I was like, I'm done. And I started exploring courses and entrepreneurship. I went full time in my business, but I started mirroring what I was so used to, which is the working hard, the 9 to 5 mentality, the let's hustle, let's do more in order to be successful and make a name for ourselves and all that kind of stuff. Right. And again, I found myself not only just working 9 to 5, but working like 8, almost 12-hour days sometimes. And I was like, no, 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 no,
Mhm.
no. Like, how am I in the same space again where I'm just burnt out and I'm not really finding joy or like a break from the day to day? Even if I love
Mhm.
my business, it's still work, right? Like it was still, it's not why I'm here. Like I feel like we all have two missions or like two purposes in life, and one is very impact based. Like what do we want to do with our business or with charity work or whatever that might be, but how do we want to make an impact in the world, right? And then the other one is, well, what do I want for myself? And I was
Mhm.
never fulfilling that one. So that for me was kind of like that wake up moment where I was just, I want to step back. I want less calls on my calendar. I want more white space to just do whatever I want, even if that just means taking a 2 hour nap, which
Mhm.
super came in handy when I got pregnant, because my first like trimester, I was just so beat, so exhausted. And taking 2 hour naps was mandatory. So to be able to scale back from working 8, 10, 12 hours to working 1 hour a day throughout my first trimester was life changing. And I'm like, I need to bring more of this. So that was kind of like my journey into having this kind of like shift in priorities slash desires slash what I want my business and my life to look like.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's what I'm going through right now is like I want more control, but I also, I'm doing this business, but like, I am in that point where I'm trying to set it up so I can do that stuff. Because same thing. I want to be able to be outside in the backyard with my chickens and like, my stepson and a little one or whatever, just like have the ability to, like be like, you know what, like today or next week or tomorrow. I just want to go and like relax or whatever, or do a family day or whatever it may be. So that's the goal that I'm hoping to set up with, the Money Cheese podcast and the business and stuff like that. So I'm hoping to create all these systems and stuff so I am able to do that. And so I'm wondering, like, so from there, what steps did you start to take to like, be able to switch that from like working those 8 to 12 hours and burning yourself out? Because I'm starting to get there, because like trying to do this with the 9 to 5, like it's tough. Like I go to work and I come home, take a little break, and then all my free time is, spent on trying to do this stuff. And so like but I'm taking the time right now that I can, so that way I could take some steps to when I do finally quit that, get out the military. This is it, but I still have that flexibility. So what were your first initial steps?
I want to say just like quickly before the fact that I think it's so beautiful that you have that the
Mhm.
duality between the military and the business. Like I know I've worked with a lot of clients who went full time in their business and then felt so much pressure to
Mhm.
make more money and to hit all these sexy milestones that you see everybody
Mhm.
talk about on Instagram. And we ended up talking a lot about the shame that they had, where it's like, well, I don't want to go back to 9 to 5. And it's like, well, what if just having, whether it's a 9 to 5, a part-time job, some sort of like volunteer paid hybrid, whatever, what if
Mhm.
that's what releases a lot of the pressure that you now have, and then you're able to grow this amazing like sustainable business that you want without the pressure where it's like, oh, I need to pay the bills. So I just wanted to say, like, of course, like for a lot of us, like going full time in our business and whatnot, and like scaling it and amplifying in whatever ways is super sexy. But
Mhm.
also, it's kind of beautiful to be able to just like appreciate the little things, whether you love it or hate it, whether it supports you or not. It's just like it's an opportunity in a way, which I think is really freaking awesome.
Mhm.
Um, but to answer your question, one of the things, to be honest, for me, it's kind of my title gives it away, but it was visibility for me. I didn't know it at the time, but when I was designing in my business as like a brand strategist slash brand designer, I realized that a lot of the times when it came to the ease in my business and how clients came to me versus me trying so hard to show up and take up space
Mhm.
and sell and promote, a lot of it had to do with speaking engagements. So it was either I did like speaking at an in-person conference, I did some podcast interviews, I did some other like cool like collabs and like partnerships with some friends and some other people in the online space. And I started to realize that it wasn't just for me fun to like collaborate with people, but it was actually giving me a platform that wasn't just social media, right? So a lot
Yeah.
of it had a longer shelf life, or it was more impactful because you got to hang out with people as opposed to just people consuming your content and it getting lost in the noise.
Mhm.
So I didn't realize it at the time, but when I started to pay attention, I was like, yeah, excuse me, I think there's like something here. So I started to like reverse engineer. I'm like, okay, where did this come from? Where did that come from? How did that happen essentially? And I ended up basically like generating what I call my signature visibility framework, which is all about like stepping into your confidence and thought leadership and using visibility, collaboration, speaking engagements in order to amplify that. So it's
Mhm.
just really about owning your voice, taking up more space and being like, bam, like doing it in front of like hundreds, thousands, like millions of people.
Mhm.
And through that, you get to create a lot of impact. So you get to basically just like share your story, share your unique like frameworks or concepts, whatever that might be. And it actually, a lot of the times, I know a lot of people are scared to take up space and to like start flexing that kind of like thought leadership muscle and like really just speak out of their own like brain thoughts and ideas. But the more you do that, you start to almost get like this like resonating from people where they just start to reach out, and whether they invest in you or not irrelevant, but
Mhm.
people that finally feel like heard and seen, where they're
Mhm.
just like, I finally get it, or that finally just lands in the way that I needed to hear in order to take action, to feel like I belong, to whatever. And that is so freaking beautiful. So that can lead to new friendships. It can lead to clients. It can lead to collaboration opportunities. And it's just so freaking powerful. And because it doesn't rely on you showing up every single day on social media, it's more like, hey, let's do a visibility event here, or let's do a
Mm-hmm.
speaking engagement there. It's sustainable because you get to show up and the ROI gets to be so much greater. It continues to bring in opportunities, sales, whatever. What I like to call like out of the blue, which is really freaking cool.
Basically, that's what I am kind of like, going through and understanding now that I'm seeing that like that's why, like a lot of people collaborate all the time, and you see them pushing it like collaborating, because that is, yeah, that's very impactful to, drive not only sales, but like that network. And you know even if like they could be like, hey, I know somebody that could help you. I know, a leadership and visibility coach, and you have that network in itself. And in the background you have this system creating, some leads and people that could work with you. So once you started doing that, how did it start working out for you? Like.
Honestly, yeah, like it's going really well. It's one of the main ways that I market slash show up for my business.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you said, you get to just have fun. You get to experience referrals. Like one of the first ones that I did was me doing a guest training inside of somebody's free community. So
Mm-hmm.
now I usually charge for like guest trainings or guest coaching. But at the
Mm-hmm.
time, I was like, let me do a bunch of free ones. Like, who cares? It's just the exposure, the
Mm-hmm.
experience. I get to get more comfortable speaking in front of people. And the person I collaborated was my now like business bestie. We live in the same city. We hang out all the
Oh,
time.
wow,
Like the
nice.
fact that we developed that friendship was like one of the biggest, like coolest things ever. And then she ended up referring a client to me. A couple of years later, she ended up hiring me. Like then we worked on her confidence. Her leadership was showing up. She ended up hitting like her first like multiple 5-figure month, and then her
Mm-hmm.
first 6-figure year in business. And like now she's working with somebody else. And like it's cool to be able to see how we all get to either be friends or collaborate or refer or hire each other in like
Mm-hmm.
basically just like leverage our network, and we're all like uplifting each other in different creative ways. Like I've had through some of the visibility events where I will hire them and then they'll hire me. And
Mm-hmm.
it's cool to be able to see that because there's no hierarchy. It's not, hey, I'm making, I don't know, multiple 5 figures a year, you're making multiple 6 figures a year, so we can't, like, we're just not on the same level. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
no. I pitched myself once to somebody who's like a multiple 7-figure earner, and I was like, hey, I would love to be on your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And with that pitch, she like sent me a voice note back, and she was like, oh, I love like the way that you reached out, da 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 da. And now we talk all the time. Like we're
Oh,
not
well.
business besties, but it's just like it's just so freaking cool how that can happen. So it's just the potential is really cool. So I've been absolutely loving it. My clients have been loving it. Like whether it's people that want to legitimately like be a speaker professionally and like speak on stages,
Mm-hmm.
or whether it's people that just want more creative ways to get seen. It could be like a lot of the partnerships that we create. One of my clients ended up hosting like a visibility event. It was a bit more like a collaborative directory kind of thing. And then
Mm-hmm.
they ended up making a bunch of sales through that. And it was just organic. They weren't pitching themselves. Like that could have been so much more like intentional and strategic, but it was
Mm-hmm.
just them having fun, amplifying other people's platform voices, mission, whatever, and then making money off of it. So it's cool how it doesn't always require you to be on a stage or
Mm-hmm.
like show your face or speak or whatever. It's more about how can I get creative with how I'm partnering up with people in order to share my message on a larger scale. So yeah, I've been loving it. I definitely recommend it. Like the fact that you're like, oh, I want to do more of this. I'm like, yes, get it. Like go do it. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm excited. I'm getting out of my like comfort zone and stuff like that. And and like I said earlier, it's a little bit more difficult. And this weekend I was able to go to a retreat, and that was awesome because I started seeing that impact of like networking and stuff like that. So that was fun, had a blast. And you don't have to work like the 8-12 hours, and but you're still making money, you're still like providing for yourself and have more free time now.
That's the biggest thing, is having more free time. I
Hmm.
will be completely transparent though. Like, I don't want to be one of those people that are like, oh yeah, I've got all the freedom in the world and I work 1 hour a day. Like, yeah, I did that for either 5 or 6 months this year. But
Mm-hmm.
now, as I'm prepping for mat leave, I've actually, for the last month, give or take, I want to say it's been a month so far. So for this month and the next 2 months, I'm going to be working a lot. I'm
Mm-hmm.
planning on working like 8 hour days, like putting in a lot of intentional work and planning for visibility, for my upcoming launches, like all that stuff, because I'm going on mat leave. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to be taking 3 months off after the baby comes. And the way that I do that is, one, just by making that decision and setting very strong boundaries and setting up my contracts and all that kind of stuff that way.
Mm-hmm.
But through visibility, I'm planning like a launch for my mastermind and retreat. I'm planning, I have like a challenge that I'm going to make passive. So I'm going to drive traffic to that. I'm going on a visibility tour myself. So, like, whether that means booking speaking engagements, I'm hoping to do one in person soon, locally. So I'm basically mapping everything out so that I can take the free time. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I think it's important for people to understand that if freedom, having that flexibility, that whole damn vibe lifestyle is a goal, you also get to have both. You get to
Mm-hmm.
have the intentional hustle, if you will, when you're planning to go on vacation, to take a month off, or to go on mat leave, or to do whatever it is that you want to do if you're working on a launch yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you get to leverage visibility, take the time off, intentional hustle, have all the free time in the world to take naps and go to the beach and salsa dance and whatever. So yes, the duality exists. So I don't want to be one of those persons that just like preaches one thing and then behind the scene is doing another. Because no, I do both, and I'm perfectly happy doing both. But to circle back to your question, you were asking basically like how things have shifted and how things look now
Mm-hmm.
that things are more sustainable with visibility. Okay. So basically, one of the things that I'm like really freaking proud of, and I think it's honestly something that I love to tap into as my measurement of success, because no matter how much revenue visibility has brought into my business, no matter how much success my clients experience and all that, I feel like if I measure my own success through like, oh, I made 6 figures, or oh, I hit multiple, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it continues to perpetuate that chase that we have to get more and earn more and whatever. So what
Mm-hmm.
I've been tapping into is for the first 6 months of this year, I started to prioritize making new memories. So I was like, let me try and do like one a week. Just
Mm-hmm.
one a week, we either go on an adventure, go on a date, take a nap, just whatever is just strictly for me to make me happier and feel like I'm actively living my life versus just work, 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 work.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up making, which totally freaking like shook me. I ended up making 83 new memories slash adventures slash dates in 6 months. That wasn't one a week. That was like an entire
Wow.
year's worth. I was like, how did this happen? And it was like the randomest like stuff. Like some of it was free, some of it was paid. Like I've been salsa and bachata dancing a lot. I
Oh,
even
nice.
started teaching some mini lessons like during the summer. I went to like a bingo night, went out for drinks, tried like cross country skiing for the first time, like just such a wide random array of like little adventures and memories that now I get to keep. And especially as I'm like gearing up to like start a family, I'm like, I know that's going to be pressure filled. I know I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to be like sleep deprived. The baby's going to be crying 24/7. Like my life's going to look very different. So I took this as like a challenge to be like, how can I prioritize me? How can I have fun? How can I create intentional time with my wife so that we can have this for ourselves while it's still just the two of us plus our
Mm-hmm.
cat? And then just, yeah, make our life a whole damn vibe. So that's kind of the impact that it's had. It's just going from working ridiculous hours, burning out, always chasing the money, to now having a happy life and being like, I get to have the business and the happy life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I could really want anything else. Like I have big goals, like sure, like big audacious, like holy freaking, like I can't believe I'm gonna go after that goals.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just part of the journey. Like it's that will come, like whether it's now, next year, in 5 years, I'm sure we all strive for more. But as my life is right now, I'm like, no, I love it. Like this is what I want. This is what I've been working so hard for.
Yeah. Yeah, That is true because like I was going like I could relate to that because like I am kind of like now, especially after like the retreat and stuff, I was like, you know what, like I think I really did fall into that hole of like the hustle. It's like it was my 9 to 5, and then as soon as I got home, I gotta freaking, start doing stuff on here, especially like when I was launching this course that I have, like, man, yeah, you're right. Like it's work. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I was it was like a lot of hours I was working, and my whole focus was on that for about like the month and a half, I think. And then I kind of like now I'm just realizing but the effort's good because now that's going to be passive. So like I put a lot of work of it on the front side. And then, now it's just kind of like maintenance a little bit here and there, but it's going to be a passive thing to like drive, uh, like income and stuff. But I had like the realization, about last week when I was over there, and I was like, you know what? I need to take more time to also, like how you were saying, make more memories. And it's funny because, yeah, I called my husband, was like, you know what? Like, I think I've been too like hyper fixated, and him too, because he's trying to do like a wood shop. I don't even like 3D printing and all that stuff. He does that on the side, like he sells on Etsy. So we both were getting into that. And then like, and on the weekends, we did a little bit of family time. But I'm like, all right, well, now we have my stepson here. He's going to school. He decided to do the school year here. So now it's like, all right, we got to like prioritize making memories, spending time with each other. And, like I do wonder, like, once I do quit my 9 to 5 job, like, I don't want to fall in that trap again. Like you were saying that the people that like quit and then it's their full-time thing and then they feel that pressure like, oh, I got to make money, I got to make money and everything like that, and or like I got to make more money. So like what are your thoughts on that, like or I guess like tips or advice that you would give someone like especially like me, like once I get get out, like to not fall in that trap again.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I feel like there's so many tangents or like angles that I could take it in.
Mm-hmm.
The first one that comes to mind is a lot of the reasons why we fall into that trap like so naturally is because that's the goal. The goal is
Mm-hmm.
typically replace my 9 to 5 income. So naturally, we put a lot of pressure on the money. Makes sense. So instead of that, is how else can you diversify your goals in order to have something else to celebrate, to
Mm-hmm.
basically define success for you so that you know you've made it and you don't have to put in that extra hour because it's like, no, 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 I'm successful already. Like we
Mm-hmm.
got this. And like that really allows you to rest, to like step back a little bit. And through that, not only do you have more energy, but you also start to build a lot more confidence because you already truly believe that you're successful as you are right now. So
Mm-hmm.
that's, I think, like one of the key things I would say is just define what success looks like for you and build goals around that that don't necessarily have anything to do with money. You can still have goals around money, absolutely, but put
Mm-hmm.
a lot more weight on what actually makes you happy, so that yeah, you can like tangibly see that you are already there and you're continuing to build on that. Because when it comes to like the hustle mentality, it's okay, I need more money, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we need to make more sales, earn more every single month, every single year. But something that I found has worked really well for me the past 10 or 11 months is I've been focusing a lot more on the money that I get to hold. So managing more those goals, setting up different savings accounts for whether it was for IUI to have a baby. We created one for that, created one
Mm-hmm.
to buy a home, officially bought a home and moved in last month, a separate fund for like fun and vacation. So diversifying the goals like that, it didn't really become about how much money do I get to make every month, but how much money do I get to sprinkle into all these
Mm-hmm.
different accounts, even if it's like a tax account, which like not that much fun, but like, hey, we got to do it. Like, let's save for taxes. And I found that that was really freaking empowering because the more I started to celebrate how these accounts were like growing in different ways, the more they kept growing. And all of a sudden I'd have like for IUI, for example, it was like north of like 5-figure investment.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you feel that like your cash flow is like a wreck when that comes out. But I remember when it came out last year, it came out from a savings account. So it's just like, oh, I'm like, look at that. Like we didn't even feel that. Like we saw the money
Hmm.
go out, but you wouldn't even feel it as much. And then the same thing happened with a home. The same thing happened with like furnishing our home. Like we bought like the dining set, we bought like a couch, an outdoor patio furniture, the one I'm sitting on right now. And those were all things that I thought we would have to wait to furnish our home because I'm like, buying the house in itself, it's so expensive here in
Hmm.
Canada. I know it's very expensive in the States as well, depending on what city, like what area you live in.
Hmm.
So it's like, we're barely going to be able to buy the house, like pay the down payment, let alone furnish it. But as we looked month to month at the different bills, like multiple five figures going out, da 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 da, it was all going out again from
Hmm.
savings. So then the next month we're like, we can buy the couch, we can buy the dining table set. So like obviously we're still holding back. Like as you can see behind me, like our walls are so bare. There's so many things that we would still love to do. Like I love your setup behind you. It looks so beautiful. So there's things obviously on the wish list, on the to-do list, and we're going to continue saving for those things down the line. It might take a couple months, might take a couple years, who cares? But I think just switching that mindset where it's like, I don't need to make millions. I just need
Hmm.
to, or I choose to manage my money better. I choose to keep and hold my money so that I can spend it on the things that I want to, whether it's material things, experiences, vacations, whatever
Hmm.
that, like whatever your priority is. I think that also helps you feel really abundant because you don't just make money, like you keep money.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so true. When that's one of the things that, like I aim to teach is that, it's not gonna matter. You can make like millions, but if you like mismanage that, like you might as well be making like 50,000 a year or something, like because it's not gonna matter if you don't know how to manage your money and how to keep your money and stuff like that. And so that's definitely, like one of the things that I learned definitely a few years ago, and I'm very like passionate about that because like you could do a lot, like, by just, allocating. And matter of fact, the episode that came out, before this one, I was talking about how, I'm going to start teaching my stepson that. And, and we've teaching him like, all right, you have account here and you have an account there, like one's for savings. We have one for travel only, and then one for emergencies and stuff like that. Similar where I was doing IVF, and now it turned into like surrogacy, like that's same thing. It's like over six-figure investment, on that, for just the chance. And like, but luckily, and well, I guess not luckily, but I planned it to where, it came out of other savings accounts, and and equity from some of the investments that I made, included this house and stuff like that. So that allowed me to fulfill other dreams, just because, proper planning. And so, yeah, I agree 100% that, keeping more of your money, knowing how to manage it, like it sets you up no matter. And you don't even have to make that much money. Like you said, I see people like some of my friends that, they make decent money or whatever. Um, but, obviously they're not like, high earners or whatever, but they're out there in other countries enjoying it or whatever. And it's all because they, manage their money. They have an account for that. And plus they know how to do points and all that stuff. So, that's another thing. They know how to get those like little loopholes and those perks, or what are like your future goals that you have of for your business and basically your life, like your plan, especially now that you're gonna have like your family.
I know it's so weird. So I've been like daydreaming, like journaling, meditating, whatever. Like all the things just naturally, not on purpose. It's just something
Hmm.
that comes up on like what I want my big like vision or my next big goal to be. Some of the things that have been coming up, and I definitely think I need to be open-minded as to like how things might shift with a family.
Hmm.
But I have like a couple like business and like life goals that I'm starting to get really excited about. So like one of the things is I want to be able to like support more people in amplifying their own impact, becoming more visible. So I'm going to go ahead and like relaunch my mastermind with a retreat. It's my first time hosting a retreat. It's going to be so
Oh,
freaking
nice.
like terrifying, exciting, all the things. And just hearing you talk about the retreat that you just got back from and like seeing the footage, I was just like, that looked like so much fun. Like I need to freaking go ahead and do this. So
Yeah.
that's one of like my big goals. I'm hoping to have like a ton of fun, just like launching it, not put pressure on it, and just like go all freaking in this fall. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna go ahead and do that. That's probably like my biggest like business thing. And then for life, interestingly enough, I'm even more terrified about the life goal. So I love the idea. I love travel. I used to travel twice a year when I was in corporate. Then we went full time in the business. The quarantine, like pandemic hit and all that stuff. So we stopped traveling, and I miss that. I miss that a
Mm-hmm.
lot. So I think one of the things I would love is I came up with this idea in Canada. It's a very common term. I don't know if it's very common in the States. You can let me know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's called like when you're like a snowbird. So basically, you retire and every winter you go to Florida or you go to wherever, somewhere warm, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to do that, but like now.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love every winter to pick somewhere. So maybe the first winter, I feel like we would probably start in either Spain or Italy because my wife's Italian.
Oh.
So I either get to speak Spanish every day, which would be such a freaking vibe, or I get to try and get away with Spanish and maybe learn a little bit of Italian. I don't know. But basically pick a different country or the same country every year and just disappear for 1 month
Mm-hmm.
to 3 months. I think that'd be the coolest thing ever. But I don't know. It just sounds so like new and different and terrifying. So
Yeah.
I gotta like amp myself up and see if I can make it happen.
And I think we're going through that season anyways. I feel like the generations now are having that shift anyways on like, you know what, like it is not worth it to work like all our lives and for what? Like you don't even get like much retirement towards the end and
I know the whole retirement thing. I always had like such like a chip on my shoulder around that. I was like, oh, like I would like flinch or whatever. Cause yeah, you
mm-hmm.
never know what retirement's gonna have. Like, are you gonna be able to retire? Are you gonna have the funds? Are you gonna make it? Like, not to be too dark, but like you never know. So it's just like, why wait forever for the potential hypothetical possibility to finally have fun and do the things that
Mm-hmm.
you want? But in terms of like a last bit of advice or something, I would say one, like don't shame yourself because there is something to be said to put in a lot of work at the beginning. Like
Mm-hmm.
I get it. You don't have to hustle. Like you can still do it in a manageable way, but sometimes our desire drives it and we genuinely want to work a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean you're failing. It's what makes it really hard to then dial it back and achieve the kind of freedom and flexibility that you want to is the shame that we add on to it. It's the, oh, I don't have freedom. Oh, I'm doing things wrong. Oh, I have the wrong strategies or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And you keep piling on in that narrative. It's not constructive. And it just leads you to try and do more, try different things, try even harder. And then you end up hustling even more and going farther and farther away from the freedom that you wanted in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say cut the shame. It's okay if you're hustling, totally cool. We all have different seasons, whether because you're just starting out or because you have a big, sexy goal that you want to achieve. Totally fine. Do what you need to do in that time. And then the second thing is start small, making it a mandatory thing that I have to do it every week. Let me just try. Like it has to be like one a week if I have time or if I want to. It doesn't have to be super set in stone and just
Mm-hmm.
release a little bit of like the boundaries and the expectations that I had set around it.
Mm-hmm.
So do whatever looks small for you. That could mean taking a lunch break if you don't right now. It could mean only taking some evenings off, taking weekends off, taking a day off, and you keep like graduating from that and going bigger and bolder with whatever you want your freedom, your flexibility
Mm-hmm.
to look like. And I feel like that makes it so much more manageable because it's not a ooh, I did it or I failed. It's I get to do it in the most imperfect way. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
succeeding because I'm doing it imperfectly. So there's no way to mess this up. And the next thing you know, you end up doing more and more and more. And all of a sudden, yes, you're going wine tasting, you're going to the
Mm-hmm.
beach every week, you're taking the naps, you're doing whatever, traveling all across Europe without even checking your phone. And that all took building up. It took the momentum of releasing the
Mm-hmm.
pressure and just going, I'll just do it in little ways. So yeah, no shame and baby steps.
Well, about your like mastermind that's coming up. I don't know if you're launching that yet, but like if they do want to work with you, like how can they reach you?
Definitely. I'm actually planning on launching that September/October of
Hmm.
2023. So it's coming up within the next month or so.
Hmm.
So anybody who's like resonating with the chats that we've been having today, who really wants to step up like their leadership, their visibility, do more speaking, amplify your impact. Basically, what I love to say is the whole mastermind is all about prioritizing sustainability so you can create more reach, revenue, and rest while embracing the whole damn vibe lifestyle from day one.
Hmm.
Definitely invite you to apply. You can reach out on Instagram. I'm Steph Wharton _. And yeah, we're going to be launching that for 2024. The retreat is going to be here in wine country. So, I mean, I'm thinking of incorporating like either salsa or bachata dancing. We're going to have
Ah,
wine tastings, like masterminding. It's going to be like, I'm getting really freaking exciting because I love where I live. I thought I would want to live in like Spain for the longest time, which would still be really cool. But I feel like I found my own little oasis in Canada. So
mm-hmm.
having a retreat here would just be such a freaking vibe. So yeah, I definitely invite anybody who just wants to have like a no pressure chat, conversation, find out more details, reach out. I don't bite. And I also have the visibility tour challenge for somebody who just wants that baby step. It's just all about booking speaking engagements. It's really tangible, small video bite-sized challenge. But yeah, just reach out. Let's be friends. Let's collaborate. And that's it. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. I will definitely make sure to put that all in the show description. And, again, once again, thank you for coming on the show and having this much needed conversation of like balancing, success and actually living life and enjoying life. But other than that, that's it for this episode. And I will see everyone in the next one. Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and share so others may find this podcast. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can email me at info.moneychisme@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow me on all my social medias that are listed below. Hasta la próxima. Bye.